welcome to I Can Do It, the program that brings to life what perseverance can do. I'm your presenter, Memory Siamori. In today's program, we feature a man born and bred in the northern part of Zambia in Mporokoso. He completed his high school at Mporokoso School for the Blind. He later joined a group of scouts. In 2010, he attended a scouting program in Kenya. With me in the studio is the National Executive Director and President for the National Albinism Networking of Zambia, Mr. Dickson Konkola. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, madam. How are you and how are you viewers?
Okay, first things first, Mr. Konkola. Who is Mr. Konkola?
Actually, Mr. Konkola is a person who was born in Mporokoso, Northern Province. He started his education at Mporokoso School for the Blind in 1995. As I was doing a grade 1 to grade 9, I was at School for the Blind. From there, I was qualified to go and attend another session of my education at Mporokoso High School, where I did my grade 12 completion.
Why did you go at a school for the blind? Is it because do you have a problem with your sight, or are there any factors that led you to go to that school?
Actually, you know, the mindsets of people that's led me to go at that school, because the time I was born, I wasn't expecting to be at the school for the blind, but due to what my mother and my father was thinking, they thought being mixed at the school for the blind, it can bring a very good passion for me to complete my grade 12 education.
Okay, looking at your condition, are you the only albino in the family?
Sure.
And how easy was it for your family to accept a child with such a condition?
Actually, first and foremost, it was very difficult for my mom and my father to accept my situation, because at that particular time, in my area where I was staying, there was no one who was in my who was like myself. Only that my grandmother was that particular. She was there at that particular time. She welcomed me and she told my mother to take care of me, because she said she believed in God and say, you cannot fail to keep this child. It is a creature from God. So he's your child. Take care of him. Until my mother and father accepted me, up to this time, they are still loving me.
Okay. Now, in as much as your family accepted you, did society accept you as well, or it was like what happens? People have got that negative thought towards people with your condition. Was it the same?
Actually, it was very high, more than my mother and father accepted me. That particular time, my community members were very much, you know, confused of seeing a kind of a person like me to be in the community. They were asking questions to say, does the mother to this child case God, or does this mother and father did something wrong so that they have this kind of a child? Actually, all the society were not all focused on accepting me. They were thinking of me, a case to God. So it was very much difficult for them to understand my background. And since my parents accepted me, and I tried to explain my concerns, let's say my parents explained a lot about myself, and at the time I grew up, I also explained a bit. This particular time, I'm telling you, Madam Memory, many people in my area have accepted me, since they have seen to have excelled from the stage where I was to the stage where I am now.
Okay, now, considering how society took you, did that affect you in any way? Did it have a negative effect on you?
No, actually, on my side, it was very great, because I wanted the society to learn something in me. That's why I just allowed them to do all sorts of things, to say all sorts of things. But what I stood up to is that I am a human being. I accepted myself, and I am proud of myself.
So, what about, you talked of you joined a group of scouts, then you traveled somewhere. Tell us more about that.
Actually, you know, it started when I was at Mporokoso High School, when I was a grade 10 pupil. there came a certain madam, Mrs. Chiwale. At that time, she was a leader of the scouts at our school. She welcomed me at the scouts, because at our school there was some groups of scouting. There was Club Scout, there was Venture Scouts, there was also Rover Scouts. So I started with the lowest stage, which is Cub Scout. From Cub Scout, I joined the Rover, the Venture. The Venture, I joined the Junior, until I went to Kenya, where I was appointed as a Rover Scout member in my area, Mporokoso.
Okay.
Sure.
So did you continue thereafter?
Yeah, I just continued my progress in the scouting. I really wanted to learn more, because as I'm telling you now, say I can do it. I wanted to excel, to reach where my other colleagues are. Yeah. So I started doing this scouting, starting grade 10 to grade 12. After I continued until I reached where it was expected me to reach.
So apart from scouting, did you have any other dream of becoming somebody or studying, pursuing a certain course?
Yes, actually, as I'm talking now, after my grade 12 completion, I had to fight a lot for me to do some courses. I started with a course called Child Development and Managing Community Development Studies. At first, I was at Scheme College, which is Share and Care International Ministry. From there, I didn't want to do an international course. I also joined students at Chainama Hospital, that side, where I did also child development. I wanted the child development to return into Zambian course. Okay. So I did it and I obtained a diploma in child development.
At college, was it the same as the time you were in high school, as people having that negative thought about you? Actually,
when we say a college, it comprises of bigger people. So it was very much easier for those people, let's say the students, to understand my status or my condition. It was very much easier for them, so there was no complications as it was like when I was at Mporokoso School. Yeah.
So they were very supportive.
Very much.
Okay, there you have it, viewers. Join us after this break as we continue the discussion. Welcome back, viewers. We continue talking to Mr. Konkola. You are the president for the National Albinism Networking of Zambia. Tell us more about your organization.
Actually, the National Albinism Initiative Networking of Zambia is an organization for the albinos. This organization was established last year, that was 2013, January. February, we launched the organization because we wanted to break the barrier for progression that hinders people living with albinism. This organization is basically welcomes people living with albinism, either young, old, youth, adult, and the non-albinistic. For us to break that barrier, we require manpower and more efforts between us, albinos, and the non-albinistic people. So we formed this organization to curtail some of the challenges that albino passes through. For instance, I'll talk of education, employment, social life, stigma, misconceptions, and beliefs. That all those things usually makes albinos not to progress in their day-to-day living. That's why we came up with this organization, so that we help one another.
Okay, so talking of the challenges that albinos face, you've talked of education. How is education a challenge to the albinos?
Actually, when we read the report for the National Statistics Office, that was for 2010, it is stipulating, say, the highest percentage of albino persons are not in education. They're just living a lifestyle. Reason being, most of the families where our colleagues are coming from, they are poor families. They are not able to manage taking them to school. And at the same time, there is still stigma at schools where albinos are going, such that it is making them not to feel like, being counted as students or pupils who can do something big. But since we have opened this organization as a voice on their situations, we have understood to say they need to be involved in education learnings so that they pursue their careers.
Okay. Now, talking of the stigma at schools, the visually impaired, those who've got the hearing impairment, they've got special schools. Should it be the same with albinos?
No, for albinos, I think we need just to be involved in the normal schools. The reason being is that when we get an albino, then mix him in a special school, we are increasing discrimination instead of breaking that discrimination. We prefer, or let's say I would prefer, albino persons to be involved in normal schools, and the teachers in normal schools needs to adopt a very special way of teaching albinos, because as you all know, we have got a problem with sight. We cannot see far. We can see quite alright, but we cannot see everything on the board. But they need just to adapt to a certain style of teaching albinos. For instance, we are combined. We start learning together. Thereafter, there will be a time after knocking off from schools. You take that child, you try to show him something that can help to motivate him.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then there's this issue of albinos having health challenges. Can you enlighten us more about the health challenge that albinos face?
Actually, for health challenges, it is a very important thing. Since our organization was launched, we have been engaging ourselves in talking to the Ministry of Health, because we know this is a department or a ministry that deals in health issues. So since we started the program, we have been talking to the Ministry of Health and on the concern of sunscreen lotions for albinos. And they take heed on that. They procured sunscreen lotions for albinos, which we have started giving to them free of charge. We are not charging any amount of money. And the good part is that very soon we'll be signing up the Memorandum of Understanding with the Ministry of Health, which will help us to help our fellow colleagues in all areas of health. We have got people living with albinism with cancer. We have got people living with albinism with skin problems. But since they don't have the required resources to help them being cured from those problems, they are unable to go to the hospital. So they do stay in their communities. For we have opened this organization, we are able to advise them or to tell them to visit the UTH or any hospital which is helping people who are suffering from different types of diseases, so that they attend to them, because we know the Ministry of Health and the hospitals at large are not segregatory. They don't discriminate. They don't segregate to say this one can be attended to this position or this one can be attended to this position. So they welcome all people from all walks of lives. So that's why we are involved in this kind of programs.
Now, when you talk of the sunscreen lotions, you are giving them for free.
Yes.
Is it a pilot project or it is a project at large and you are distributing to every part of the country?
Actually, it is a very big project that we started. We don't want just to give people in Lusaka only, but also reaching out to the rural parts of Zambia. We want the urban, peri-urban, and the urban area, rural urban areas to receive the sunscreen lotions that the government procured. We know, according to the mandatory of the Patriotic Front government, which is under his leadership of His Excellency Mr. Michael Chilufya-Sata, is dedicated to help the less privileged ones through the procuring of the sunscreen lotions to albino persons. Not only sunscreen lotions, but also other medications. Every person, either albino or non-albinistic, can receive the total care and support that the Patriotic Front government is giving to us.
Okay. We're living in this world of HIV and AIDS, and there is this myth of when you sleep with an albino person, then you get cured. How true is it, and how is it affecting albinos?
Actually, that is a very wrong motive to the people, because we have seen the way they take things. They say when you sleep with an albino, you'll be cured with from HIV and AIDS. Best I can give a question. Is an albino God or a human being? If an albino is a human being, then who is he to cure HIV and AIDS? Or who is she or he to cure HIV and AIDS? That is a myth, a very bad myth. An albino is a human being like any other human being. When you sleep with a woman or with a man living with albinism, to say you will be cured from HIV and AIDS, you cannot be cured unless you take the procedures of health medications or health procedures for you to be cured from HIV and AIDS. If it means you need not to be having prostitution, to be a prostitute anywhere you are going, it is like that. But not saying whenever you sleep with a woman or a man living with albinism, you can be cured from HIV and AIDS. Sometimes people themselves usually will say, when you say an albino, you can then you greet him. You'll be lucky at that particular time. You have more wealthy, you see, which is also a wrong motive. At the same time, they usually say, when you get an albino, you kill. You become very rich. When you get a young chap who is living with an albinism, you gain.
Sorry to cut you short.
Sure.
When you talk of this myth of you kill an albino, then you'll be rich.
Yeah,
is it happening in Zambia?
Yes, actually, I can refer it to the 2007 scandal, which was happening in Tanzania. Our fellow colleagues were being killed without knowing what was happening. And that situation came in Zambia without knowing it, because it was secretly. Last time, we lost a very young chap. The situation in which she was killed, it was not good. She was just taken by unknown people. She was killed, wrapped in a sack and thrown away. After some days, people discovered to say there is something in the sack, thrown away. So they found that it is an albino. And people tried to say all sorts of things, but they didn't know what was happening. Since the scandal started happening in Tanzania, as albinos, we were very eager, very ready to save our lives, because we knew it started with a very young chap in our country. We thought it can even reach to us, so we were safeguarding ourselves. Sometimes parents were not allowing albinos to go out from houses to do all sorts of things. But since we believed to say Zambia is a Christian nation, we need to stop this myth. We need to stop these scandals happening in Tanzania. That's why we came up with the knowledge of opening the organization, so that we can tell this situation.
Okay, so now when you talk of all these challenges, stigma, all these myths, as an organization, what measures have you put or are you putting in place to address these challenges?
Actually, thank you very much for that question. As an organization, we have got objectives that we follow, or let's say principles that we follow. According to some of the objectives that we have in our organization, we need to partner with some organizations, churches, government ministries, so that we trim this behavior, or let's say these challenges that we are passing through as albino persons. So first and foremost, we ourselves, albinos, we have started involving ourselves in some advocacy programs where we do some outreach. We go and open centers, we talk to our fellow colleagues, we talk to the public to say, you need not to discriminate albinos, they are like you. Albinism is not contagious. You can carry it everywhere you go, because in every 17,000, one is affected in albinism. We cannot know because we've got two types of albinism. There is ocular albinism and ocular cutaneous albinism. In ocular albinism, there are some components that usually affect albinos and non-albinistic. And in ocular cutaneous, same. And there is a very high dense in our Zambian albinos. We can identify albinos through the skin, lack of pigmentation, proper pigmentation, which is lacking melanin. There is also black albinos, but you cannot identify them. They are not common in our country.
When you talk of the two types of albinos, what's the difference between the two?
Actually, when we talk of the ocular albinism, it comprises lacking of something which is melanin in our bodies. The pigmentation is not okay. It is not normal as it needs to be to these other people called non-albinistic. A person having ocular cutaneous albinism usually have difficulties in the skin. For instance, when I say I cannot walk a long distance on sun without applying sunscreen lotions, or without putting on long sleeve clothing, or without putting on a cap. So it brings challenges of heat burning, or let's say sun burning, wounds, and so on and so forth on the skin, such that people fail to stay a better life. So that's why we have been involving the Ministry of Health to start also understanding the plight of albino persons, so that they help them with some health challenges in one way or another.
Okay, sorry, I cut you short. I'll take you back to the measures that you're putting in place to address these challenges. You talked of involving various stakeholders, and so what would be the role of stakeholders in addressing these challenges?
Okay, actually, thank you very much. I'll start by saying and thanking the DAPP, Development Aid from People to People, which is DAP. This is a very good organization. It has welcomed us and it has welcomed our programs. We have been partners with the DAP in ensuring that we attain our goals and objectives. First and foremost, the DAP has started helping us, or they have been involving themselves in helping us to take our fellow colleagues to some skills training. For instance, last year we sent our fellow colleagues to Children's Town, Chiwombo, where they are doing different types of skills. Some they are doing food and production, some they are doing tailoring. So it is a continuation of program with the DAP. Not only that, they are also helping us financially. Sometimes they help us with finance. We go outreach, we do some programs so that we sensitize the communities. We tell the communities to say we are normal human beings like any other human beings. That's why we are saying we want more stakeholders to come on board and start helping us in implementing the programs, because for us only we cannot achieve what we are basically aimed at unless many stakeholders comes on board.
Okay, so what really, looking at your background and coming up with this organization, was it part of your dream to come up with this organization?
Sure, actually, someone to come up with something, meaning a person has to have a passion to help people. According to the way I am, it was in my dream to say
Okay.
I have to do something
You have to
in
do
my
something.
life. So since I was involving myself in scouting, involving myself in interacting with different races, different people, I had a dream of reaching far, and
you
still
achieved it.
I'm still having a dream of reaching far.
Okay.
So I came up with this organization, or let's say we came up with this organization to help our fellow colleagues, because I've got a passion to help our fellow colleagues, because we have seen the situation in which they are passing through, especially the rural albinos,
Okay.
because they are not receiving the adequate support that they need to receive from the government, or let's say from the non-government organizations, churches, and the people at large.
Okay, Mr. Kokola, someone out there is eyeing at you and saying, "Oh, I've seen a handsome man there." Someone like to know, are you married?
Sure.
Or are you available for someone there?
Actually, I'm a married person.
Okay.
Actually, I got married last year, September 17th. Actually, I've got a couple of things that I usually do, especially sometimes I do stay at home with my wife watching television, sometimes listening to radio stations, sometimes visiting my grandma in Makeni, sometimes reading the Bible.
What would be your encouraging words to other people out there who may be looking down on themselves? Okay, they may be in your condition, or just someone else, because of their condition, they think they can't do it, and they're looking down upon themselves to say they have a dream, but because of the circumstances or the condition they find themselves in, they say, well, I can't do it. What word of encouragement would you give to such a one?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I would rather like to say to you, my brother, my sister, non-albinistic, albino, please, you need just to be yourself. You need to understand your background. First and foremost, let me say, albinos, my colleagues, believe yourselves. Say you are normal human beings. Let no one discriminate against you. Let no one say all sorts of things on you, because you are a human being and you were created in the image of God, and you need to know that you can do big. You can be someone. You can motivate others. And you, my brother, sister, living with non-albinistic, believe God is good all the time. You need to believe God in everything that is being done here on earth. For God to create a human being, He didn't specify. He didn't say, I'm creating an albino. I'm creating a white woman or a man. I'm creating Vamwenye. I'm creating this type of people. He said, let me create a human being of my image, which is a simple and straightforward thing. You need to understand the way you are looking at albinos is the way you are. The only difference is that we are lacking one component, which is melanin. And that melanin cannot hinder us not to progress. We are able-bodied. We can do everything that we can do. I'm telling you, as an albino, non-albinistic, you can do it. But I'm also asking or urging or requesting from the government to consider the plight of albino persons, involve albino persons in the decision-making processes, involve albino persons in the programs of the nation, involve albino persons in political things, so that they become motivated. Because if you are not involving them in all sorts of programs, they cannot see themselves as normal human beings. But hi, my brother, you can do it.
Alright, that was Mr. Konkola, a man who believes he can do it. And he did it regardless of the circumstances. In life, you don't have to give up on anything, because giving up is the biggest mistake that you can ever make. On behalf of the entire studio and production team, until next time, it's bye-bye.